So I was asked to do a video on how I put these hondos on these cotton ropes. So I'm going to try my best here. So the first thing you got to do is stick your rope through your hondo, and then you kind of want to hold the rope the way you want the Honda to rest. You don't want to end up putting it on cattywampus or sideways or something. So this one has a hole cut through it. And one way you can do it is just to put what's called a Turk's head knot in the end of this, and then that would allow it to not pull through here. But the way I'm going to show you is you're going to have the rope braided back here a ways. So I've kind of got my angle figured out here of how I want this Hondo to lay, about like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to untwist quite a bit of this. And one thing that might help you is to put tape on these ends. I don't hardly ever have any tape around. And this is a 5-strand cotton rope, wax cotton rope, and it's got this nylon core in this. You're just going to untwist it from that core, and then you're just later going to cut off the excess of that core. And I've untwisted here, maybe I'll probably do about 10 inches or so. Just untwist them into all their individual strands. So this is 2 strands here I can undo. And since this one's waxed, it kind of helps keep these ends held together better. Just untwist them all down here to an equal length. And then this core, you're just going to kind of set to the side and not worry about. I might even just cut it off before I get started. But so now the way it untwisted, I've ended up with 2 on this side and 3 down there. So I'm going to slide these 2, and this part isn't super important, but since it's an odd number of strings, you're going to have 2 on one side of your Hondo and 3 on the other. And I just kind of double check, make sure my Hondo's sitting the way I want it to. Pull these all down snug. And so now, going back down the rope, you're going to kind of fillet all these strands out. You'll see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm kind of holding this core in between my pinkies. So now what you're going to do is this first string here is I'm going to go over the one next to it, and I'm going to kind of leave this loop here because I'm going to come back and use that later. Then the next string just goes over the next one to its left, and then this one's going to go over the next one to its left. So I've went over this. I'll do that again. Here's the very first one. The one next to it's this brown and gold striped one, so I'm going to go over it and leave a little loop. Then this brown and gold one's going to go over the solid white one. Then the solid white one is going to go over this brown one. And see, this is the tail of the very first one, so I just kind of got to watch out for it. So I'm going to go over the brown one. Then the brown one's going to come over this yellow and white one. And now this yellow and white one is going to go back through that little loop that we left. And now I just go along and I'm going to work everything down tight. Get it all snugged up. I want it to stay right along the rope here. And it's kind of tricky the first time you do one of these, but you'll get it figured out. Sorry, I keep kind of going out of the frame there. So now this first one, you just kind of got to get struggled through it. And I'm going to kind of suck it all up tight against this rope and hold it up there with my fingers. Now I'm just going to start with this brown one this time. And I'm going to go over this one, leave that little loop because that's where I finish. Go over this one. Then I'm going to go over the next one. And then over the next one. And then my white one's the last one, so it's going to go through that loop. Then I'm going to start sucking everything down tight again. Usually start with that one I left as a loop. And now this is kind of when it'll start pulling up tight against your rope a little bit better. You don't got to pull them all down really tight at first. I just kind of work my way around. And you'll see which way that they want to suck tight. They kind of go around in a square. And just work your way around. And now you can really start torquing on them. That's pretty good. So now this time I'll start with this guy here, and I'm going to go over this white one, leave my loop, go over this brown one here. The brown one's going to go over this yellow and white one. Yellow and white one's going to go over the other yellow and white one. And the last yellow and white one is going to go back through my loop. And then once again, start sucking everything down tight. Just a little bit at a time until everything kind of starts lining out for you. Just work your way around. And some people like doing that Turk's head knot just in the end of it because they like it to swivel, and it's just a personal preference. I've got plenty of them that are like that, and you know, people can kind of get pretty picky about their ropes, but you got to remember those old time guys were just using hemp ropes or something, and you know, they didn't have the option of a weighted 4-strand poly rope with a metal hondo. It was just, you know, get it done with what you've got. So don't get too nitpicky over little things like that. Just develop your skill and try to find something you like. And okay, so now I'm going to start with this one. He's going to go over that one and leave my little loop there. Go over the next guy and over the next one. And then, which did I do here? And if you get, I got goofy because I wasn't paying attention, so I'll start over. Go over this one, then over the next one, then over the white one is the next one. Then the white one's going to go over the brown one, and then the brown one's going to go over and back in through that loop. And start working everything down again. With these cotton ropes, if you do just end up putting a Turk's head knot in the end of it, it might help to melt that nylon cord to kind of hold everything in place. Or you can put some super glue or Gorilla Glue or some sort of epoxy on the end of it. Just sucking everything down tight again here. The nice thing about these waxed ones is once you pull them tight, they'll stay tight. Now you can go as long as you want with this. You know, if you get too long, you're going to add quite a bit of weight to into your rope, and you're probably going to adjust how you throw a loop a little bit, but So now I'm going to start. This might help the view. So the white one's going to go over the brown one, and I'm going to leave my little loop. Then the brown one's going to go over this one. This one's going to go over this guy. And this guy's going to go over him, and he's going to end up going back through my little loop. So once you've gone over, just kind of push the one that you went over with out of the way after you make the loop, so that you not end up grabbing this tail or accidentally scooping it up with this guy. I'm going to go over him, and then I'm going to push this brown one kind of out of my way. Then this guy is going to go over him, push him down and out of the way. And then this guy is going to go over this brown and gold one. And then the brown and gold one's going to come back up, and he's going to go through that loop. And back down, pulling everything down a little bit. This knot is just the beginning of a Turk's head knot. On a Turk's head knot, after you would go around that, you would take these ends and go up through some X's, these X's that it makes, but you don't have to do that with this knot. And the nice thing about this is it kind of makes a cool pattern on your rope here. But once you think you've gone far enough, I mean, this isn't going to come untied or undone. What you can do is put all these ends back like this, and I just tape them down, or actually I usually take a piece of this or a nylon cord out of some other rope, take a string out of that and wrap it around here and tie it, and then you can kind of melt it on there. But you might be worried that these won't break. These will eventually wear out and you'll have to put a new one on there. So keep your eye on these strands, and when they look like they're getting kind of wore, cut this off right here and untwist this, slide your hondo down and untwist it some more, and do this all over again. And another thing, when you put your hondo on, whether it's one of these folded ones or a San Juan hondo, make sure your knot is on the right side or on the outside. If it's in here on this side, your spoke will hang up on it. And when you throw a trap, and if that's sticking up, it'll mess up your loops. So just make sure that this is out this way. And you can do this with, if you make a folded hondo, then you don't have to put a hole in it. You can just split your ends, butt them up against here, and then go up and over, and then start this braid back down. So that's probably confusing if you've never done this kind of stuff before, but if you've tied some knots, Turk's head knots, you'll be able to figure that out pretty good.